In this lecture, we are going to learn about another method in JavaScript called as at method. This at method, it was introduced in ES 2022. And what at method does is it returns an element on a given index. So for example, let's say we have an array, and from this array, we want to find the element at a given index. For example, if I want to find an element at index 0, on that array, I can call this at method and I can pass the index, in this case 0, and it will return me the element at that index in this my array. In this case, it is going to return apple, as you can see. If I pass 2, it is going to return me the element at index 2. In this case, it is going to return us this element, cherry, because this element is at index 2. And we can also pass negative index. In that case, it will find elements from the backward direction. So for example, if I pass -1, in that case, this at method is going to return us the last element from the array. In this case, date. And if I pass -2, it is going to return us the second last element from the array. In this case, cherry. So let's see this practically. So here, let's say I want to find the element at index 3 from this my array. So what I can do is, on my array, I can call this at method, and to that I can specify the index as 3, and this at method will return me the element at index 3 present in my array. So if I go ahead and if I log that value in the console, you see it has returned me the element at index 3, and the element at index 3 is this fourth element, this value date, and that has been returned. If I specify return me element at index maybe 1, in that case it is going to return me the index at second position, because index starts from 0. So this apple is at index 0 and this banana is at index 1. So this will be returned by this expression. So if I save the changes, you see banana has been returned. And we can also pass negative indexes. So for example, if I pass -1, it will return me the last element from this my array. In this case, it will return me date, as you can see. And if I pass -2, it will return me the second last element from the array. If I save the changes, you see it has returned us the second last element from the array. So this at method is very simple to understand. To this at method, you need to pass the index and it will return you the element at that index from a given array. Now we can also use this at method on a string, and in that case it will return us the character from that string at that given index. So for example, here I have this my string which is storing this string value. So on this my string, if I call at method, and to that, let's say if I pass index 2, it is going to return me the third character from this string. So we know that strings are also indexed base. In this example, this H is at index 0, E is at index 1, and L is at index 2. So this L will be returned by this at method in this case. Let me go ahead and let me log it in the console. And if I save the changes, you see it has returned L. If I pass 4 here, it is going to return us the fifth character from this string. In this case, it is going to return us O. If I save the changes, you see it has returned us O. And we can also pass negative indices. So if I pass -3, it is going to return us the third last character from this string. And the third last character in this case will be, this is the first last character, this is the second last character, and this is the third last character. So it is going to return us L. If I save the changes, you will see L has been returned. So we can use at method either on an array or a string value. And to this at method, we need to pass the index. We can pass positive index or negative index. And based on that, it is going to return us the element from an array or the character from a string. I hope you got the point. Now let's see a practical use case of this at method. So again, let's say our use case is we have a name, and what we want is we want to convert the first character of that name to uppercase and rest other characters to lowercase. We have already written that logic in our previous lecture. So let me scroll up. So here we have this format name function. Let me copy this function and the call to that function. And let me scroll down and let's paste it here. Now here, in order to get the first character from this name string, we are using substring method, and there we are passing the start index as 0 and the end index as 1. Now, instead of doing it like this, what we can also do is we can simply use at method, and to that we can pass 0. And in this way, it is going to return us the first character from this name string. And remember that at method does not modify the original array or original string. So in this case, this at method will return us first character from this name string, and we are converting it to uppercase, and rest other characters we can get using this substring method. There we are passing the start index as 1, and we are not passing the end index. So from index 1, it is going to extract everything. We are converting it to lowercase, and finally what we are doing is we are concatenating first character and rest character. So we are getting the first character using this at method, and we are converting it to uppercase. We are getting the rest of the character from the name string using this substring method, and we are converting it to lowercase. And finally, we are concatenating those two strings to get the desired output. So here, if I go ahead and if I save the changes, before that, let me comment this code. Okay, if I go ahead and if I save the changes, you will see that we still have the formatted name where the first character is in uppercase and rest of the characters is in lowercase. So this is one use case where we can use this at method. So this at method is very simple to understand, and we can use at method either on an array or on a string value. And what does it do? It basically returns us either an element from an array on a given index or a character from a string on a given index. So this is all I wanted to cover in this lecture. If you have any questions from this lecture, then feel free to ask it. Thank you for listening and have a great day.